Welcome to Concept and Composition. For this project, we are going to be focusing on building a deeper concept. So oftentimes when we think about art, when we think about making something, we might think about something basic like a portrait like this. The craft level on this thing is excellent. It looks amazing. But what it's saying is, here's what this person looks like. So the concept is not very deep. Same with some landscapes that we look at. The concept is just capturing that particular space at that particular time, which is cool and it's nice to look at. But again, there's not much to think about. It's not giving you a lot of food for thought. It's just a beautiful piece. And so, what this project is going to get us to do is think more about the concept and not have to worry too much about the craft. If you look at this example right here, this one in our minds, we're seeing two objects and then some hands, right? So it's like a person and two hands. And with those just three elements, you are starting to put together a story in your mind that is about fantasy. We're seeing a magic sword. We've got a scroll. It looks like some kind of a quest or some kind of treasure is being sought after here. You could also look at current events. You could look at things that are happening in our world instead of fantasy. Here we have a bunch of gas pumps, cars and trucks, very congested. Then we see the world is kind of in the middle of it, and we've got a fire on top. So it's talking more about social, political, environmental issues. And so you can get to a story really quickly with these symbols. So emoji, we often see them in a linear composition because we're using them in text or messages. And so we read them oftentimes from left to right. But as you're looking at these ones, you're seeing they're getting more and more complicated. We can build a story, we can build meaning out of these little simple icons. And the greatest part is you don't really have to draw them, you can just grab them. We talked about a linear composition just now, but we can also have different types of compositions. So this one is bisected, where we have two sections. You can make more sections if you want to. Here's an all over composition where everything's on the page, it's spread out, there's no particular focal point, it's not exactly centered. We've got a radial composition where we're starting from the middle and growing outwards, which can look really nice. And then we've got a blending overlay composition where you're seeing some things are transparent or semi-opaque, and we're seeing all the things, but they're piled on top of one another. So we're seeing these layers. And finally, for this one, we've got a pattern composition like you'd see on a piece of fabric. It's repeating and it spreads throughout the whole space. Those aren't the only compositions we can use, but those are some great ones. Looking at the actual assignment, we have the breakdown here. So you need just a few things. Number one, you need a background color or picture. Could be an emoji that you stick in the background. You need 3 or more emoji of different types, and then a concept statement. So for this one, this picture is about this person and that person. We've got a defendant or someone going to court, a judge, and they are forced to pay a fine. So we're seeing the money kind of fly away. So with just 3 emoji, you can come up with a pretty good story that people will be able to read or something meaningful. To make this, we're going to use Pixlr E, and we're going to click on Create New and then Art Grid. It is 1000 by 1000 pixels, which is a good size for us. And emojis are pretty much square. So now we have the space to work with, and it's ready for the emojis. When you're grabbing emojis, this keyboard is going to be linked in the description, and what I'll say is you don't want it on native. Whatever it says is your native type of emoji, it won't allow you to grab them. You can see I'm clicking and dragging, but I can't grab them because it's treating them like a text piece instead of like an image. So what you need to do is click on platform and go down to one of these. I'm going to use Google, and then you'll see the difference. Once this comes up, I can just find the emoji that I want. For this one, I'm looking for a house, just a single house. So I'll click and I can just drag it. So I'll drag it to my desktop. If you're on a tablet or a phone, you can tap and hold and then save it to your images. Now I'm going to try and build a story. So I have a house. I'm thinking about making maybe a twister, maybe a natural disaster sort of picture. So I'm looking for a background. I think, city during the day. I think a twister during the day would be good. So I've got the house. I already picked a person who is doing a cartwheel, that emoji, and people in body. But to find the twister, I think I'm going to head down here. And here's all the weather. So I'm going to grab the cyclone or the twister, whatever you want to call it. So now I've got enough things. I've got a background. I've got 3 other emojis to tell this, to make this picture, to tell a story in people's minds. So I'm going to start with the background photo, which is the city. And always remember to go add to current. If you create a new project, it's going to be very confusing. So always go add. And then this is the background. So I'm just going to put it right in the corner and drag it out. And you're going to see it's going to get pixelated, which is totally fine. Because in this instance, we actually want pixelated. We're using that style, that emoji style, to make the image, and so that is good. Sometimes we don't want fuzzy images. Now we'll put in the next thing. Let's bring in the twister. Let's make that, because it's going to be quite large. Make sure to go add to current, and then we're dragging this one out. So composition is where we put things on the page, so it really matters. So I could do a pattern with this. I'm going to go straightforward, almost like a movie poster, where the things, the most important things are going to be in the middle, and we're going to add some things around the outside. But you could obviously make things very different. Let's drop in the house, add to current, the current picture. So then the house I want kind of big. Again, the composition, where do I want this? Do I want it upside down? Do I want it to the side? Do I want it on the ground? And I'm thinking, to get the most out of the visual impact, I want to put it up nice and high and off kilter and still kind of big. Let's add in this last piece. So just the third emoji that's going to be part of the story is, the fourth with the background, is the person doing a little cartwheel. So we've got the cartwheel person. I'm going to put them off to the side as well. I'm going to make them small. They're closer to us than the house, so they're kind of big so we can see them, but it also doesn't look like a cartwheel anymore because that I've turned it a little bit. So there we go. There's a composition. It's a quite a regular, ordinary composition, but you could obviously make this interesting by copying and pasting and doing more with it. So this would be a 3 just by itself. Now, if I keep adding things, maybe I add a cow, maybe I add other things that are flying around. Maybe if I make this into a pattern, or I think of a different composition, then I can build the concept up and make it more visually appealing. Once you're done, you can head over to File, Export, and then export as a PNG. And then your file is ready to go into the project template. And you can just throw it in there and make sure you have your concept statement about what the concept is for this project. Good luck.